and welcome to the pod. I'm your host, Grace, and with us we have Abbie, who's going to teach us all about how to become a wine educator. So thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure.
So, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about wine, and what a cool job, but just tell me in your own words what that is and what that entails.
So a wine educator is essentially somebody who purports to teach people about wine. Mm-hmm. And you can do that in many different ways. You can do it as a person who just wants to share their knowledge about wine, or you can do it in a formalized way. And by formalized way, I mean, there's something called the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, which is one of the most respected bodies globally in wine education. And so you can teach people about wine through that method, which mm-hmm. is absolutely fine, or you can teach people in a kind of more casual method in terms of like just a group environment, those kind of things. So it depends what you want to do, and essentially I do both.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Which one do you go for? Do you find that you prefer to teach in a certain way, or you like them both equally?
So depends how much depth you want to go into this. You can do like a one-day wine course, which is a WSET level 1. By the way, I don't work for the WSET. Just make that clear. You do like a one-day wine course, which is essentially like, this is a red wine, this is a white wine. Mm-hmm. Or you can then sort of go into level 2, which is my favorite to teach, but I don't usually teach that, mm-hmm. Which is essentially all the grape varieties of the world, and you learn about regions. And I think for anybody who wants to know a little bit more other than what do I want to drink other than Sauvignon Blanc or Malbec, that I would recommend that. Nice. And then there's a level 3, which is essentially like equivalent of an A level mm-hmm. in wine. And that's mainly what up until very recently, I was teaching mostly that. But that is not my favorite of the 3 to teach.
Okay. But that's what you're mostly doing.
Yes.
So I'm obsessed. I didn't even know you could get this professional about wine. But obviously we'll just go back to the beginning. And what did you want to be when you were growing up?
When you say that to me, there's a couple of things, mm-hmm. and I'll give you the slightly funnier one, but please bear in mind I was about 5 at the time. I don't know why, but I do remember saying to my uncle, I want to be a nun.
Really?
Yeah, at 5. It must be about 5. And I can only think, because obviously I hadn't got any idea what that was involved. It was because I probably liked the outfits.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be a nun, and I used to make everything out of sellotape at the time. And my uncle said, if you become a nun, you won't be allowed sellotape. So that was that then.
Wow.
So I ditched that quite quickly. It's probably not even true. I'm sure that.
I was going to say, what an interesting rule, but it got you away from it, I guess. He probably didn't want you to be too straight on that from that age. So
I'd have come off the idea quite quickly once I knew what was involved in it, I assure you.
That's true.
No offence to any nuns listening.
Absolutely. So, okay, so you went on from that and you sort of went through your studies. Yeah. And what was it when you were like a teenager and you're making a decision about your career?
So I really wasn't sure. I mean, I went to university and I actually read mainly archaeology, and I ended up doing a master's in numismatics, which if anyone who knows what numismatics is, not many people do. It's basically the study of ancient coinage. So I studied ancient coinage after my degree. It's a dying subject. And after that, I could have gone and worked in a museum, probably, maybe like that. Probably the pinnacle would be like the British Museum, something like that. But I didn't want to be stuck in a small office area just looking at coins. So I then actually went to journalism college and became a journalist.
Nice.
I spent a year learning how to be a broadcast journalist, and I was a broadcast journalist for 10 years.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Just on the coinage situation,
sure.
Is that because you were a fan of it? Did you collect? Like, how did you get into that?
It was a weird turn of events. It wasn't because I was particularly interested in coinage. It was because the makeup of the course I did at university was archaeology, anthropology, and politics, which is a weird combination. It was one of the new combined social sciences. So actually, by pure fluke, in the last year, you have to do a certain number of archaeology, etc. And because of the way the times table was worked out, in order to do the minimum in all the other requirements, I had to end up either doing Roman glass, or Roman coinage. Wow. So I went for the coinage, and then had no interest particularly in it. And then I ended up being really good at reading coins.
Wow.
And then they asked me to stay on and do a master's in it. So that's what happened. So yeah, it was pure
a random
fluke.
skill, isn't it?
It's a random skill, and I have to say, I've never. Well, do you want to know what actually my dissertation was in?
Yeah.
This is quite quirky. I ended up doing my dissertation in the exchange rate between Rome and Egypt, which was a closed economy, and the rest of the Roman Empire in the later 2nd and 3rd centuries.
I have no idea of anything about that. So wow, well done you.
It's really useful, as you can see.
Really use that in
really
every
use
bit.
That one, yeah.
Wow.
It's a good dinner party conversation, and that's about it.
That is so interesting. I just love hearing how people fall in and out of these things. But going on to journalism, so this is really cool because you're at the BBC, right?
Yes.
And so how did you start there? Because it's
I did another postgraduate broadcast journalism at City University in London, and it's still, I think, a really good course for people who are interested in doing that. And at the end of that, I went to work in local radio, and I went to the Northeast, and I was a reporter, and I did all the things you can imagine you do, talk to people at bus stops, vox pops, and then I became a newsreader for radio, and I actually read the news on the day of 9/11.
Oh my word.
So that was an interesting day. I remember that very clearly. And then I really wanted to move away from local radio, so I answered an advert internally in the BBC to write 300 words if you want to work in the 6 o'clock news. So I wrote exactly 300 words, and anyway, there's a long story, but I ended up working on the 6 o'clock news.
Wow, that's a big moment.
That was great, and I loved it.
I
loved that. Yeah.
What did you love about that specifically? What's the big difference into what you were doing already?
So working in television news is just being in local radio is incredible. Learning ground, teaching ground, really important. And hats off to anybody who still works in local broadcast journalism or even print journalism. But it's like being in a vein and then suddenly you're in the artery.
Really?
And it's quite a big jolt. And it's exciting, and you have a deadline. You cannot be a second late.
Yeah.
So as a producer, which meant the stories you see that go out on the news, let's say, for example, I don't know, there's a fire or something, a major fire, you would work on that story all day with a correspondent, and you'd get graphics, and you would get interviews, and you'd obviously check things are correct and so on. And the whole deadline is towards that 6 o'clock.
Wow, that is a lot. What if it's a slow news day?
It's never, ever, ever a slow news day.
Really? Yeah. So that does not exist?
It just does not exist, because you think about it, even if it's nothing exciting happening here and domestically, there's always something internationally going on.
That's wild, isn't it? Like, it's never a quiet day.
No, never.
That is amazing. I think it's really cool as well that you're saying you building up from local to this 6 o'clock news, which is probably like a real pinnacle moment.
It was, and it was, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. I did love it. And then I ended up doing the 10 o'clock news.
Oh, wow.
And then, which was more pressure because that's still considered the flagship. And then I went and answered another job to go and work as a producer for the BBC political editor. So then I went to politics, and then I went into Millbank, so just outside House of Parliament. So yeah, I worked there for a year who at the time it was Nick Robinson, who was the political editor. He is now a presenter on the Today programme, and I was his producer for a year.
Wow. Did that link back to you doing any of that political stuff from your degree, or was that literally...
No, absolutely no. Just
no link.
No link whatsoever. I was always interested in politics. Actually, it was slightly different politics at university, but yeah, so that's what I did. And I just did it for a year, and then I finished because I was covering maternity leave, and I went back to the 10 o'clock news. And by then, as you said to me, is it ever a quiet day? It's never a quiet day. Yeah. And by then I was done. I thought I need to do something different before I get too old. It's
quite insane, isn't it, with the news, because I feel like some people can find it really negative. And I think if you're working on that all day, every day, and you're looking for stories, it can probably really get you in the end, because it's like, what's going to happen today?
Yeah. There are things we saw that we our job was to make sure that accidental images don't go out publicly, and if it's and I remember very clearly, a terrible tragic fire in India, and it was a school, and it was as everything you can possibly imagine. And then I had to make sure I go through all the footage to make sure we weren't putting out images that would not be nice at 6 o'clock with people's fish fingers and chips or what have you. So and that does take its tolls.
Definitely. And that's when it was time to find something else.
Yes.
So what happened then?
So I didn't know what to do. I just knew I didn't want to do this anymore, and I didn't want to become... There's another trajectory. I could have ended up being what they call an output editor, so deciding what goes into the news, but I had no interest in that. And that, for a lot of people as a producer, would be a kind of the next step or exciting. Yeah. But it never held any appeal. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, what am I going to do? So I was really tired, and I'd broken my arm on a skiing thing, and I was just exhausted. My sister said, you love food and you love wine. Why don't you take a year out and go and do food and wine and see? I was, oh no, I'm at the top height of my career. I can't do that. So just go and do it, and good things will happen.
Wow.
And I did. And I did Leith School of Food and Wine for a year. Took a big chance.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because it's a very stable job, I can imagine, at the BBC. And like, to be like, I'm going to take a year out to learn something brand new. Yeah. That is an amazing, amazing thing to do. And you loved it?
And I loved it, yeah. I thought I was going to be a chef, actually.
Yeah.
And I ended up marrying a chef I met on the course. I worked in his restaurant for one night.
Wow, good things really did happen.
Good things did happen, yeah. I ended up marrying him and having children with him. So, yeah, obviously it was a good thing. If that's one of your good things in life.
Take the chance.
Take the chance. And then after that, to be honest with you, as a woman, I was of a certain age. I cracked on and I had my children.
Yeah.
But I did I was always doing, and I was doing sort of, and I was working for a company, and I still do some work for them, and they're a great company called 3050 Wine Events, and I would run wine events for them. Mm-hmm. And that was always part-time, but I did that for sort of 15 years with them. Yeah.
Wow.
And then once my second child was old enough too, I went for, I want to do more. Mm-hmm. So I did the diploma in wine and spirit, which is essentially a bit like doing a degree in wine. Mm-hmm. And just to put it into context, there are about 11,000 diploma graduates in the world. Mm-hmm. I'm one of them. And then there's the next step up is a Master of Wine. If people who know or are interested in a bit of wine, they're the gods.
Yeah.
And there's only 485. So there's like 485 and then 11,000 of us. And then I'm not sure how many level 3s there are and so on. So
that's a small number in the grand scheme of things.
It's a small number in the grand scheme of things, but not everybody wants to do it. So
yeah, that's so true. I think it's quite cool as well. Like you're saying, you wanted to do something and you found that wine was your calling in that, and you found something so niche. Because were you always sure there was going to be a job that came out of it when you were studying?
When I did the level 3, which is the A-level equivalent at the end of the food and wine course. And that meant that I could then start to run tastings. And I always thought I'll just end up doing my own or more or bigger tastings. But then when I started to collect credentials. Because I thought, if I am going to make money or make a decent career of this once my children are older and I want to do full time, I have to collect as many credentials as possible. Now, there are a lot of people and a lot of my colleagues that I work with in wine who do very, very well and do not have all the credentials, and they don't necessarily need them. And I'm not saying it's the only route. But for me personally, that's what I had set my eye on.
Yeah.
And that, for me, has worked.
And I feel like you are someone that likes to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, so that works best for you because you've obviously studied so many different things, and I think that's really admirable. I think it's also cool that now you're a wine expert. What does that change for you just in like the drinking experience? Do you see it completely differently now?
I do, and it's a good job I do. So if I'm working or if I go to a tasting or an event or what have you, I taste wine and I spit it out. For so many people, that's an alien concept. And they're like, you can't spit it out.
Yeah.
Any wine professional is spitting it out.
Right.
Okay. You just couldn't function. So I'm very lucky that I can make the difference in my own head. And I know some people can't between working in wine and drinking wine. Now, I love drinking wine, but I'm able, whilst I'm working, to be able to spit it out. Yeah. So for me, it's a very different thing. I mean, I can't do my job. I mean, I used to run tastings. People go, oh, come on, stay.
Yeah.
Have a glass. And I'm like, no, this is my job.
Yeah.
And having a nice time with you and you have a nice time, but I'm not drinking this. So
I think it's impressive working with drunk people as well.
Yeah.
And that takes some patience.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of be done.
Yeah. You're like, okay, you're not even listening anymore. You're not
listening anymore. I'd like to go home and have my own glass of wine.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find that a lot of people do want to learn from you now that you've got this talent? Because not many people have it.
I don't know if I've got a talent. I do think there is an appetite for wine education and wine knowledge, and I think that really came about in COVID. I think people had a lot of some people started running marathons. I actually taught myself mixology.
Nice.
Which probably wasn't the healthiest of pursuits. But I was running because I was still in the middle of my course, that diploma at the time. I was running online tastings for people, so I was like buying wines, I was sharing them out, pouring them around my neighbours' doorsteps
Aww.
from a distance, and then we would meet online, and I would teach them about that, and it was my part of way of learning about the region. And I really noticed, and I did so many of those, that there was an appetite change from, I'm just buying a bottle of wine and I'm just going to drink it and that's that, to I've got some time on my hands. I do like a wine. I'd like to know a bit more about it. So if I like this wine, what wine would I also like? And for me, I still think there is that appetite that people are drinking better, more expensive, but less.
Yeah.
And I think that comes of wine education. I think there's been a big shift in that.
That is really cool. I think that's such a nice community thing to do in lockdown as well. And then you're still learning yourself, which is really cool. So how have you grown your career in this and made it what you are now?
So it's difficult. It's like there was never one big, massive step.
Yeah.
It's always been a series of small steps. So when I used to go to tasting events and I was doing the diploma, I met a lady, and I'll shout out to her, Heather Doherty. She's an amazing wine educator. And she said, once you get your diploma, why don't you join the Association of Wine Educators? And I was like, okay, well, what? She said, you can't really do it and be a full member until you got your diploma. But when you do, give me a call. And so I did.
Wow.
And it's only a small group. We're about 120, I think, or so. And I became a member, and that was a brilliant thing. You get some money off wines if you buy wines to run wine tastings. You get a network of people that you can talk to. You get, you're listed so people can come to you if they want wine education. So there's lots of sort of basically chances you can go with that. And then after a while, they asked me to be on the council.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I'll be the council. I did the social media for that, and I'm not sure there was the best person for that, but yeah.
You did it?
We did it. And then I was asked to be chair, or I was asked to stand to be chair. So now I actually am chair of the Association of Wine Educators, and we're a global community. We're only small, but we're a really highly skilled organisation. And so it's my mission now as chair to get more people who are interested in wine education to teach it, to let people know about the AWE, and to try and get more members, and we're getting there, and it's really valuable, because in a world of misinformation and a world of lots of people saying, oh, this is this and that wine means that, there is at least we are a bank of people that people can trust and come to, and I think that's really important, and not just from my perspective, but for all the people who work in wine education's perspective too.
100%. I think a place that all of you can go and are getting the same information, especially in the world of the internet that we are in, is unbelievable. And that's really cool that you're global.
We are. I mean, listen, we're predominantly domestic. But we have members in Europe. Our treasurer is actually Swiss, which I think is a nice kind of symmetry there.
Yeah.
Who else would you want running your finances? A man in Switzerland. Thank you. And members in all over America, quite a few in America. So yeah, we are a growing organisation internationally.
That is awesome. I think it's also a really good accolade that you're like, I've learned to do this and I'm doing it well. Like, to be asked to be chair of it is a really nice moment.
Well, yes, I do. The thing is, I don't really. Yes, the problem is I don't think of things like that, and I should probably think of things like that. But you're right.
Think that's one of the things that when we talk to guests as well, it's like we kind of don't appreciate the moment we're in and being like, I would never have been in this 10 years ago, or you wouldn't have been in it if you hadn't taken that chance.
Yeah.
And now it's good because you're making a really positive impact and changing the way they think about drinking, which I think is always a good thing, because it can have such negative connotations, but it's actually something to enjoy. And if you learn about doing it properly and what you like as well, don't drink something just because it's there. That
exactly.
Kind of thing.
And I actually think it's a really good point on that, because people often say, oh, what should I like, or is this good? And there's lots of ways to cut this cherry or cut this grape, but essentially, nobody should tell you what you like. And if you like, a white Zinfandel from Blossom Hill, so be it, fine. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. If you like something completely different, that's fine too. But as long as you're liking something and you're enjoying something, that's a great thing. And then also, and I also tell people, just if you like this, then try that, or if you like this, think about that. And I always try and say trade up, because I think money is an issue for everybody. End of story. But as I say, drinking better and more expensive, but less is often a better economy, and also you get to try other things. So, and also the great thing is nowadays you can try things by the glass more and more.
Yeah,
it's incredibly expensive to buy things by the glass, unfortunately, but at least now you go to a restaurant or a bar or what have you, have got much better choice than you ever had before.
100%. I think that's a really wonderful message, like buying better but less. That's really good. I'm going to think about that myself. For somebody that might want to get into this, what advice would you give them? Because it is such a niche. Like if they were just starting out and they're listening to this and they're like, I would love to do that.
As I say, there are many different ways to do this, but if you really do want to get into wine education, and I know there are a lot of people that do, and there's a lot of people who try and do it as career changes, and obviously I am one of them. I would say go to the WSET. That's the Wine Spirit Education Trust. You don't have to do it with them. They're a body. They're based in London and Bowman Street, and they have all over the world. You can learn anywhere. And then there are some things called approved program providers, that basically people that run the courses, and you go to them and then you take the exam, and at the end of it you get the same credentials. So it's Wine Spirit Education Trust. I absolutely would do that. If you know a bit about wine, probably don't do level 1. If you know a little bit about wine but you don't have any formal knowledge, I would do level 2. And that's a 3-day course over 3 weeks, or sometimes, depending on who you're doing it with, you can do it 3 days in a row and then take your exam at the end of it. I would probably try and spread it out, because it's a lot of information and it's a bit intense to do it like that. But I think once you've got that, the way that they, and as I say, I don't work for the WSET, but the way that they work is like a pedagogical, so it's building on fact upon fact. So once you understand how they run their courses, and you know that, okay, so I've learned this, I know that they do it by region, grape variety, etc., and then they go, okay, the next level is going to be more detail on region, grape varieties, and explaining why. So it's a good thing to do. It's not a good idea to go straight in at the A level, even if you're kind of somebody who's very academic or thinks they know a lot, because you have to do it their way. You have to play their game in order to get the qualifications, and that's great, because then if you're learning to taste and judge wine in the same way as everybody else, you can do what you want at home with your friends or family, what have you, but you need to do it in this set format in order to pass the exam. And then once you're done, you can do it again however you want. So I would say learn that, and then and then see where you are. And then I would start doing sort of like I did. Start doing small groups with friends and thinking, do I like doing this? Or pick a region, or pick a variety, or pick a budget. There's lots of different ways to do it, and I think a lot of people do that just to have sort of test the waters.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm sure a lot of people as well, just like it's a hobby.
Yeah, it's a hobby.
Yeah, you don't have to have a big career from it if you don't want to, but it's still interesting to know because it's so a part of our lives. What's been the coolest thing from your career since you've started this? Or like the most fun?
I've been really lucky because in the last couple of years, I've been asked, as a result of doing what I'm doing, to travel a lot and to see these wine regions.
Wow.
So I've seen an awful lot. I mean, I think I went away every month last year to a different wine region, pretty much.
Wow.
Or if not every month, 1 month I didn't go, but then twice in 1 month, that kind of thing. So yeah. I've stepped back a little bit from that this year because it does get quite exhausting. Mm-hmm. But yes, travel, seeing amazing places, and the nature that you see with it as well, and learning about those kind of the risks, the worries, the stuff, everything. I mean, look, you're the lovely thing about wine, whether you teach it or whether you just enjoy it, is that it really does encapsulate everything. Mm-hmm. It encapsulates biology, it encapsulates science, if you're interested in science, it physics, it's history, it's everything. It's literally everything, and it's a story. Mm-hmm. No matter which way you cut it. Wine is a story, whether it's a story about how you got that little bud to make those grapes that makes that wine, or whether it's a story of my great-grandfather was the first person to make wine out in California, blah, 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 and now here we are. So essentially it's storytelling, and it's storytelling that has many different branches. So it's a lovely thing. So you can just find which branch you want to be in, or which one you want to play with.
I love that.
It's a very nice thing, and generally speaking, people that work in wine are really nice.
Nice. It's a good community of people.
Yeah. But there aren't many millionaires in wine education, so if you're hoping to make a tidy packet, I wouldn't do that. But you do have enriching life experiences as a result of it, if you're lucky enough.
Yeah, I would never have put together the travel thing, but that's amazing. I really love that. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast because I know this combines wine and politics, right? So how does that work? Because they're two niche subjects to come together, I would say.
So thank you for mentioning it. So I had this idea. So as you asked me kindly where I started, and I started as in journalism, and then I left it. But I would still have dreams that I was back in the newsroom, and I still do. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
And I think my little somewhere in the back of my brain was going, don't forget that skill set. That was a skill set that you learned there. You learned how to keep to time. You learned how to fact check. You made sure that you're so accurate and sources and all those kind of things. So, and that never leaves you because I'm paranoid about being late for anything.
Really?
Oh yeah, terrible.
Wow.
So I had a little niggle in there that there was still something that I could do with that. Mm-hmm. And then with the wine and the wine education, the wine writing that I do a lot of wine writing, and I just thought, hang on a sec, and because I love my year in politics in Westminster, and obviously we did drink quite a lot. I didn't know what I was drinking at the time, but, so I didn't have much knowledge at that time. And I just thought if you think about it as a Venn diagram, there's the world of politics and the world of wine, and I just saw that the two come together. Now this isn't about getting blind drunk or bad behavior or anything. I just thought there's a really nice synergy. And when I used to work in politics, we'd go for a drink afterwards, we'd decompress, we'd meet other politicians, and there's just a nice kind of point of meeting.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, so we're going to marry really great stories from either politicians or journalists, and there are a lot of political journalists that come on the podcast. And I thought, why not marry the most important things that have happened? So, I don't know, a prime minister taking over, or somebody being elevated to the House of Lords, and picking the wine style that they like and trying to find a vintage to match it.
Wow. What an amazing idea.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's just nice. And you don't have to know much about politics.
Yep.
You just want to be interested in the person who's talking, much like your podcast. You want to be a little bit interested in the person who's talking, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know loads about wine, but you might say, I like wine, I don't know much. And I'm trying to find, and I'm bringing in a bit of wine education with that too.
I love that. And have you found it? You enjoying it?
Yes, I've just finished filming the first series, and it's gone really, really well.
That is so good. I really love hearing when an idea like that comes to life, because not many people would have thought of it. And then sometimes I think when it's your passions, you're like, should I do it? Is someone else going to enjoy it? And the fact you brought it to life, even that, it's an idea from your head into real life. So,
and the biggest problem was choosing a name, sort of, vintage politics, but vintage as in the vintage, the year, politics, and it was just that was the hardest bit. And then after that, I just thought, this is something nice, because if people just want to listen to nice people and interesting people, or, they don't have to like them, but find them interesting, and just a little bit about wine, or learn a bit more about wine. So those who know loads won't get bored, and those that know a little will still be engaged.
Yeah, it's a cracking idea. I think that's so fun. It's like also making it a bit more available to the masses, isn't it? Because like we say, some people might be overwhelmed by coming to learn about wine, being like, oh, I shouldn't do that, or I don't know anything about it. But being able to listen to a podcast on your own, and you're learning about it that way, it's a really nice way to do it. It's not overwhelming, and it's not too much pressure.
Listening to more interesting people than me, yeah.
Absolutely not. I've honestly loved hearing about this, because it makes me want to learn more about wine and what I'm drinking. And
I can help you with that, no problem.
Thank you. That's perfect. So in this career of wine education, what is the dream? What's the goal with it?
There's two different goals. There's like a personal goal and there's an altruistic goal. The altruistic goal is through my work with a number of other people in the wine education and the Association of Wine Educators, is to make sure that there is a backbone, a spine towards wine education, that people can always come to us, or people affiliated with, or that they know that there is, in this world of disinformation, that there are a trusted group of people who will be able to tell you stuff. They're not being paid by a brand or any of those things. They are doing it because they love wine education and they want to share that knowledge and they want to share those stories, as I was saying. So there's that. And I really would like that to kind of grow and people to be more confident in their wine choices and to learn more about wine. And wine is having a really hard time. I mean, wine consumption is significantly reducing, and for lots of reasons. And people are much more health conscious, and so I say to you, drink better but less. So there is there is a reason why people do get concerned, but I just want people to know that that is a wonderful thing, and if you enjoy a little bit, to know a bit more is just one of the great things in life.
Yeah.
So that would be the altruistic, selfless kind of side. Personally, I just love doing what I do, and it is wine education, but it is also wine writing. And for me, and as obviously with the podcast, it's just marrying all of those different cogs, because like most of us aren't doing one thing anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, unless you have a very strict sort of like a buyer role, maybe for a supermarket, most people who work in wine, I know they do lots of different things. So it's just bringing those things together, and being lucky enough to meet great winemakers and great wine educators and learning great stories. And I just want to carry on doing that.
Nice. It's so nice that you love your job so much.
I'm very lucky.
What is wine writing? Sorry.
So wine writing is writing articles about wine.
Oh, nice.
On wine regions, and I do. That's another reason why I do travel a lot. I get asked to go to places, and I will come back and I'll write about them.
So that kind of brings the journalism in as well.
Exactly.
Wow, the way these link up, I just love it. Well, that was phenomenal. I really, really appreciate it. And I know that everyone else will as well. And obviously now I really want a glass of wine. So
I go a mug of water instead.
I know we should have done it with wine. I'm sorry.
Have brought a bottle, shouldn't I?
Next time. We'll do a
That
follow-up.
was an easy miss. Sorry.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.